Imagine waking up and discovering that you have just committed the worst crime imaginable. Condemned by madness to destroy what he loved most, the greatest warrior of ancient Greece was not seeking glory. He was seeking forgiveness. To cleanse the blood from his hands, he had to accept 12 suicidal missions designed by a cowardly king to destroy him. 12 monsters, 12 tortures, 12 levels of pure hell. Get ready for the ultimate countdown, from the most absolute humiliation to the underworld itself. These are the 12 Labors of Hercules, ordered from the simplest to the most destructive. This is the Immortals, where legends never die. Subscribe and take your place in the ranks of legends. We start at number 12, the Augean Stables, a mission designed to destroy the hero's pride. King Eurystheus did not want to kill Hercules on this occasion, but rather destroy his pride by exposing him to absolute public humiliation before the entire ancient world. The mission consisted of cleaning the gigantic stables of King Augeas within the span of a single day. It was not a typical combat challenge, but a physically impossible task for an ordinary human being. Those enclosures housed thousands of heads of divine cattle, and the filth accumulated over more than 30 years had formed mountains of manure, whose stench infected the neighboring regions. The foremen and soldiers mocked the demigod upon seeing him arrive with only his hands. They knew perfectly well that not even a whole army with shovels would manage to remove such an amount of filth in 24 hours. However, the protagonist proved that his mind was as sharp as his muscles were powerful. Instead of starting to dig desperately, he walked around analyzing the terrain with mathematical coldness. He observed the geography of the place and discovered the hidden power of the surrounding nature. Using his colossal strength, he dug huge channels and moved tons of earth and rock to divert the natural course of two rushing rivers, the Alpheus and the Peneus. He broke the stone walls of the stables at both ends and let the raging torrent enter with savage fury. The water, blessed by the elements, washed away the layer of pestilence in a few hours, leaving the floors completely clean and gleaming before night fell. The hero returned the rivers to their original courses using improvised containment dams, and presented himself before his enemy with clean hands, shattering the twisted plan of his oppressor. Success proved that the warrior possessed the necessary cunning to govern the forces of the world and solve impossible problems through engineering and strategy. Next is number 11, the Ceryneian Hind, a year-long chase where a single drop of blood meant death. If Hercules spilled a single drop of blood from this mythical animal, he would immediately unleash the destructive fury of one of the most relentless deities of Olympus. This creature was a sacred hind consecrated directly to Artemis, the relentless goddess of the hunt. The animal possessed hooves of solid bronze, antlers of pure gold that gleamed under the sun, and a supernatural speed that allowed it to run faster than arrows fired by the bow of an expert hunter. Eurystheus knew that the demigod could not simply use his club or his poisoned arrows, since killing the specimen meant his own divine execution. The true challenge of this assignment was extreme physical and mental endurance in an eternal game of cat and mouse. The warrior located it in the forests of Arcadia and initiated a legendary pursuit that extended for an entire year without rest. He crossed known borders, traversed frozen mountain ranges, rushing rivers, and deserted plains chasing the golden trail of the beast. There was no time to sleep or to eat properly. It was a test of pure will where the hunter had to wear down a magical creature. The animal never seemed to tire, dodging every trap and ambush with prodigious leaps. Refraining from wounding it was the order. Finally, physical exhaustion caught up with the prey near the Ladon River, where the water's course blocked its escape for a few brief moments. Seizing that second of hesitation, the son of Zeus lunged with mathematical precision and immobilized it using a net woven with reinforced threads, trapping it gently without tearing its skin or damaging its golden horns. Upon starting his return, the goddess Artemis blocked his path in a fury. But the warrior appeased her by explaining with respect that everything was part of his forced penance, obtaining permission to exhibit the live creature before setting it free. Moving to number 10, the Erymanthian Boar, a monster that terrified the king himself. A colossal monster that terrorized an entire kingdom with its blind fury ended up ridiculously scaring the cowardly monarch himself, who had sent Hercules to die. On the peaks of Mount Erymanthus lived a wild beast of titanic proportions, a boar whose tusks were capable of splitting the trunks of ancient trees, and whose stomps caused tremors in nearby villages. The animal would come down from the cliffs to destroy farmlands, kill local livestock, and devour any peasant who attempted to defend their home. The crown's order was strict: capture the creature alive and bring it chained to the palace gates. The hero ventured into the winter forests knowing that direct combat against a mass of muscle and fury of that caliber required an environmental wear-down strategy. He found the boar's lair and began to harass it with deafening shouts and rock throws to force it out into the open. When the monster charged with all its power, the warrior ran toward the high areas of the mountain where the accumulated snow was thick and deep. The boar, blinded by hatred, followed him up the hill without realizing the weather trap. Its immense body weight played against it. Its short legs sank into the thick frozen blanket, and its strength began to wane with every attempt to advance. When the Colossus became completely exhausted, immobilized by the cold and extreme fatigue, the demigod threw himself onto its back. He tied it tightly with forged iron chains and carried it on his broad shoulders to descend the mountain. Upon arriving in Mycenae and throwing the monumental creature into the main courtyard, King Eurystheus panicked completely upon hearing the beast's angry snorts, running to hide inside a huge underground bronze jar, while the hero smiled. At number 9, the Stymphalian Birds, nightmare creatures that rained sharp bronze feathers. Nightmare creatures with beaks, claws, and sharp bronze feathers rained down from the clouds, like deadly projectiles upon any living being that crossed into their territory. These carnivorous birds had reproduced uncontrollably in the dark, dense swamps surrounding Lake Stymphalius. Their population was so massive that when they took flight, they blocked out the sun, and their poisonous droppings destroyed the crops of the entire region. The worst part of the mission was the treacherous terrain. The swamp consisted of quicksand that could not support a man's weight, and the waters were deep, preventing the warrior from approaching the trees where the monsters nested. Every attempt to advance on foot meant drowning in the mud, while the beasts attacked from the air. Seeing the warrior's desperation, the goddess Athena decided to intervene in the conflict and handed him a divine artifact: bronze castanets forged by the smith god Hephaestus in the forges of Mount Olympus. Knowing the power of sound, the hero climbed an adjacent rocky hill and began to strike the metallic instruments with all his power. The resulting noise was a deafening and supernatural crash that shook the atmosphere of the swamp. Panic seized the birds, which flew out in droves from the brush, breaking their defensive formations. With the sky flooded with moving targets, the hero took his bow and began to shoot his arrows with surgical speed and precision. One by one, the metal creatures were shot down, falling lifeless into the depths of the stagnant waters. The few survivors fled to distant lands never to return, freeing the inhabitants from a cursed plague thanks to ingenuity combined with the guidance of the gods. Climbing to number 8, the Cretan Bull, the beast tamed by bare hands. The mythological animal that gave rise to the tragic legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur was the very same one that Hercules tamed using solely the strength of his limbs. King Minos of Crete had angered the god Poseidon by failing to sacrifice a beautiful white bull that emerged from the marine depths. As punishment, the god of the oceans drove the beast mad, transforming it into a giant monster that breathed fire from its jaws and ravaged the entire island, tearing down orchards, walls, and killing hundreds of citizens. No soldier of the Cretan army dared to approach the quadruped due to its lethal charges. The demigod sailed to the island conscious that this labor demanded a direct confrontation of absolute power. Upon finding the bull amid the ruins of a destroyed town, the animal pawed the earth and charged with the force of a freight train. The hero did not dodge the blow. He stood firm, extended his arms, and grabbed the beast directly by its colossal horns. The collision cracked the ground beneath his feet, but the warrior did not yield a single inch. A titanic struggle began that lasted for hours, where the bull attempted to trample or burn the attacker with its fiery breath. Using Greco-Roman wrestling techniques and applying unbearable pressure on the animal's neck, the demigod managed to twist its head and force it to kneel on the ground. Completely subdued by the physical superiority of a son of Zeus, instead of killing it, he chained it, and demonstrating absolute mastery over nature, rode it as if it were a docile horse, forcing it to swim across the Augean Sea to the shores of the Peloponnese, to present it before a terrified Eurystheus, who could not believe his eyes. At the halfway mark, number 7, the Girdle of Hippolyta, a peace mission that turned into a massacre. A diplomatic mission that should have been resolved peacefully ended up turning into a bloody massacre due to the envy and eternal resentment of a hidden deity. The assignment consisted of recovering the golden Belt of Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, a clan of fearsome women warriors who inhabited the borders of the known world and who were experts in the use of the bow and military strategy. The object possessed a mystical value, as it was a gift from Ares, the god of war, which denoted supreme authority over the female army. The protagonist traveled with a small group of volunteers and landed at the port of Themyscira. Upon meeting with the sovereign, Hippolyta was so impressed by the hero's manners, muscles, and deeds that she agreed to hand over the relic voluntarily as a gesture of mutual respect between legitimate combatants. However, the goddess Hera, determined to ruin the demigod's destiny, camouflaged herself among the ranks of the Amazons, adopting the form of one of their commanders. She began to spread the false rumor that the foreigners planned to kidnap the queen to take her as a slave to Greece. The warriors, enraged and armed to the teeth, mounted their horses and charged against the men's camp with spears and swords. Upon seeing the sudden offensive, the hero assumed that the initial offer had been a trap to ambush him and end his life. With the pain of betrayal in his chest, he drew his sword and repelled the assault in a fierce and desperate battle. In the chaos of combat, he killed Hippolyta herself, claiming the belt from the sovereign's corpse before boarding his ships in a hurry, leaving behind a land plunged into mourning because of the deceptions of Olympus. Breaking into number 6, the Mares of Diomedes, 4 wild horses that fed on human flesh. 4 wild horses that did not feed on grass or grain, but rather on the fresh flesh of human beings, constituted one of the darkest challenges of the redemption campaign. The cruel King Diomedes of Thrace raised these quadrupedal monsters bound with heavy iron chains to solid bronze mangers. The monarch had the perverse habit of throwing foreigners who were shipwrecked on his shores or prisoners of war into the stables to be crushed alive by the jaws of the beasts. The hero traveled north with a group of warriors determined to stop this atrocity. He managed to infiltrate the palace, overpower the stable guards, and free the horses from their moorings. However, the mares, gripped by madness and bloodlust, attacked the group. In the midst of the combat, the hero's faithful companion, Abderus, was careless and ended up devoured by the creatures. Enraged and blinded by the pain of the loss, the demigod pursued the Thracian monarch who was trying to flee the disaster. He defeated him in single combat and decided to apply an implacable poetic justice. He dragged Diomedes' wounded body and threw it into the manger of his own pets. The mares devoured their breeder in a few minutes without any mercy. Curiously, after sating their insatiable appetite with the corrupt flesh of the one who had turned them into monsters, the dark magic that dominated them dissipated completely. The 4-legged friends regained their sanity, became tame again, and allowed the warrior to guide them peacefully back to Mycenae, without offering any resistance, closing a chapter of northern terror through a lesson in cosmic retribution. Things get deadlier at number 5, the Cattle of Geryon, a battle that literally altered geography. To fulfill this mandate, the hero had to travel to the westernmost edges of the inhabited world, altering the very geography of the planet through his physical power. The objective was to steal the legendary red Cattle of Geryon, a monstrous being who possessed 3 heads, 6 arms, and 3 bodies joined at the waist, owner of a colossal military force on the island of Erythea. The valuable livestock grazed under the constant surveillance of 2 lethal guardians, a monstrous 2-headed dog named Orthrus, and a giant shepherd of extreme cruelty. Upon arriving at the island after crossing scorching deserts, the warrior was immediately attacked by the 2-headed canine. With a single precise movement of his olive club, the hero crushed the creature's skulls. Immediately afterward, he eliminated the giant shepherd who was running toward him with murderous intentions. Upon learning of the loss of his servants, the colossal Geryon armed himself with 3 shields, 3 spears, and 3 helmets, challenging the invader to a duel that shook the foundations of the island. The demigod dodged the giant's multiple coordinated attacks and, drawing his bow, fired an arrow steeped in the Hydra's lethal substance that pierced the monster's 3 bodies simultaneously, ending his life instantly. With the path cleared, he gathered the animals and undertook the long journey back to Greece. It is said that during this journey, to clear a path between the continents, the hero split a mountain range in 2 with his hands, creating the Strait of Gibraltar and the rock structures known ever since as the Pillars of Hercules, marking the limit of traditional human knowledge. At number 4, the Golden Apples of the Hesperides, a trial of pure cunning against a titan. Stealing the mystical fruit of immortality that belonged to the gods required an immense dose of cunning to deceive the colossal titan tasked with holding up the vault of heaven. The golden apples grew in a hidden divine garden and were guarded by Ledon, an immortal 100-headed dragon that never closed its eyes to sleep, complemented by the nymphs of the evening. Knowing that entering the garden by force was a suicidal mission that would trigger a direct confrontation against cosmic forces, the warrior sought the help of Atlas, the titan condemned by Zeus to carry the weight of the firmament on his back after the war against the ancient gods. The hero proposed a very clever deal. He would hold the immense celestial structure for a few moments if the titan entered the sacred garden and collected 3 golden apples, taking advantage of being related to the guardians. Atlas, eager to free himself from his eternal torture, even for a brief period of time, accepted immediately. The demigod placed himself under the firmament and received the weight of the universe upon his trapezoids. It was an unprecedented test of biological endurance. Every muscle in his body tensed to the limit, and his bones creaked under a weight capable of pulverizing entire continents. After an agonizing time, Atlas returned with the golden fruits, but having tasted freedom, he declared in bad faith that he himself would take the apples to Greece, leaving the hero trapped there forever. Pretending to accept his fate, the warrior asked the titan for one final favor: to hold the sky for just a second, while he placed a leather pad on his shoulders to better withstand the friction. The naive giant left the apples on the ground and hoisted the structure, a moment the hero seized to pick up the fruits and leave quickly. Entering the top 3 with number 3, the Nemean Lion, a beast completely immune to weapons. Its skin possessed a mystical blessing so powerful that bronze swords bent upon impacting it, and archers' arrows bounced off as if they were simple wooden splinters. This monstrous lion, a descendant of ancient monsters, ravaged the valleys of Nemea, devouring men and entire flocks without any hunter being able to face it. When the protagonist tracked it to its lair, a cavern with 2 accessible entrances, he decided to block one of the access points with large rocks to corner the beast. Upon coming face to face with the creature, he fired a volley of arrows directly at its chest, but watched in astonishment as the projectiles fell to the ground without causing a single scratch. The feline roared with a vibration that shook the stone walls and leaped with claws deployed, ready to tear the intruder's flesh. Realizing that man-made weapons were useless against the creature's magic, the warrior threw his bow to the ground, set aside his sword, and decided to fight, using solely the power of his anatomy. He dodged the first charge and pounced onto the beast's back before it could react. he wrapped his colossal arms around the lion's thick, muscular neck, applying an aerial chokehold with devastating pressure. The feline thrashed savagely, scratching the hero's arms with its razor-sharp claws, but the demigod maintained his grip with an unwavering iron will. After several minutes of a primitive struggle in the darkness of the cave, the monster ran out of air and its colossal body collapsed lifeless to the ground. Using the sharp claws of the beast itself to cut the impenetrable hide, the hero skinned the animal and wore its skin as armor that would make him invulnerable in his subsequent battles. At number 2, the Lernaean Hydra, where cutting one head multiplied the danger. A nightmare monster so lethal that cutting off one of its heads only served to worsen the combat situation, multiplying the danger exponentially. The Hydra was a gigantic aquatic serpent that inhabited the swamps of Lerna, whose breath was a purulent gas capable of killing anyone who breathed it, and whose blood carried an extreme corrosive venom. The demigod ventured into the mud, using a cloth to cover his airways, and began to sever the monster's upper extremities with his sword. However, he witnessed with horror that from each bloody stump, 2 new completely functional and hungry heads immediately sprouted. Finding himself outmatched by the creature's biological regeneration, the warrior understood that he could not triumph alone and requested the help of his loyal nephew Iolaus, who was waiting with provisions in the rear. The combined strategy transformed the course of the confrontation. Every time the hero cut off a head with his steel, Iolaus ran quickly with a lit torch and applied direct fire to the open flesh, cauterizing the stump and preventing the mystical tissue from regenerating to form new limbs. Working in perfect harmony while dodging the acidic bites, they managed to reduce the serpent's multiple heads one by one. At the end of the grueling day, only the central head remained, which enjoyed the attribute of absolute immortality. The warrior sliced it off with a definitive blow, and while it was still writhing, emitting hisses full of hatred, he buried it deep beneath a gigantic rock next to the sacred road, sealing it forever. Before leaving, he dipped his arrows in the poisonous blood of the dead creature, acquiring a lethal weaponry that would change the destiny of his future enemies. And finally, number 1, Cerberus and the Underworld, a suicidal descent into the realm of the dead. The definitive test of the campaign required what no ordinary human being had ever achieved: to voluntarily descend to the realm of the dead and return to tell the tale. The monarch Eurystheus, convinced that this assignment would mean the definitive end of his hated cousin, ordered the capture of Cerberus, the gigantic 3-headed hound with a serpent's tail and a mane bristling with vipers that guarded the gates of hell to prevent the escape of condemned souls. The hero traveled to the hidden portals of Taenarum and ventured into the depths of the earth, crossing rivers of souls and ashen plains filled with spectral shadows. Upon presenting himself before the throne of the god Hades, the sovereign of the underworld agreed to allow him to take his pet on one strict condition. He had to dominate and subdue the hellhound using only his bare hands, prohibiting the use of his wooden club, his poisoned arrows, or the lion armor. The warrior located the monster on the banks of the Acheron River and launched himself into the attack. Cerberus roared with its 3 jaws at the same time, snapping bites capable of breaking bones and lashing with its serpent tail that sought to inject venom into the attacker's legs. The demigod ignored the painful bites piercing his skin and wrapped his powerful limbs around the beast's 3 necks, applying a suffocating submission lock with all the strength accumulated in his years of gloom. The hellhound fought with savage desperation, but the pressure exerted by the son of Zeus was so colossal that the creature began to lose consciousness due to the lack of air, finally surrendering to the warrior's power. The hero carried the monumental guardian on his back, crossed the borders of death, and exhibited it on the surface, completing the greatest feat in history. Hercules proved that neither monsters nor the gods themselves could slow his path. If you are passionate about legendary warriors, dark myths, and ancient mysteries, click right now on the video appearing on screen to delve into another great story.